I'm glad that you could join us today for a fun afternoon of digging data out of your gold mine. I know that some of you have been on GoldMine Premium for quite some time. Some of you are new to it. Either way, though, this GoldMine tool called MasterMine has been around since, well, I met Rob in the late 80s. Rob will be late 80s, the late 90s, when he was showing us his Mastermind for his brand new Mastermind for GoldMine 4.0. Yes, Bill Clinton was president, and yes, the gold mine was yellow. But this is a phenomenal tool that lets you reach in and take care of your own reporting and data needs without having to hire somebody to do something crazy like a SQL report or a Crystal report. And you could, this is a sort of a difference between somebody giving you a fish and someone teaching you how to fish. The folks at Mastermind, of course, are happy to help provide you with some to stocking your initial pond of fish. But with the we're going to see some great examples, and you can chime in with questions over on the panel over to the side. GoldMine's a terrific tool. Mastermind makes it even better. So if this Mastermind will give you an extra tool to fight the power. So Rob, got some stuff you want to show these guys today?
Absolutely, I do. Thank you very much, Steck. I was just wondering how far you were going to go with that fish analogy there. So thank you all also from us here at Mastermind for joining us online today. We are very excited to show you the latest and greatest of Mastermind toolset for GoldMine today. I am, as Steck mentioned, I am Rob Makalik. I'm the developer of Mastermind, and why don't we just go ahead and dive right in here, and let's talk a little bit about what we're aiming to do here. So a very quick recap of what Mastermind itself is. It is a tool set for working with GoldMine. You don't need to have one for everybody in the organization. I'll make an argument later on for why it might be helpful, but basically what Mastermind's tool set allows you to do is three extremely important things that GoldMine just doesn't do very well. First one is make reports. So, and actually I'm not even going to go into that very much. Let's just say we're going to make reports. We do data manipulation. That is, the software allows you to actually manage in a hands-on way your GoldMine data. And I'll explain why that's really important. And then we'll talk a little bit about process management, the fact that it's one thing to just simply clean up and have your data in the right places in GoldMine. It's another thing to, on a day-to-day basis, be able to actually efficiently accomplish the things that you want to be able to do, sometimes involving tens, hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of prospects or customers or activity records or really anything that's in GoldMine, to be able to do that stuff efficiently and get your processes going. So, and the way Mastermind does that is essentially what we're doing is marrying some great tools that are built into Excel with the great tools that are built into GoldMine. Everybody probably has that experience of working with GoldMine and knowing, sometimes I feel like I'm in GoldMine and I can only see things on a one-by-one basis by going through records one by one, or I can only see the opportunities that are associated with a particular contact or with everybody in the whole list, but I can't really do that in a much more comfortable fashion. And what Mastermind does really is marry, as I say, functionality that's in Excel with GoldMine to make that much easier to do. So sort of summarizing very quickly before I go into showing you the application itself, I'm just going to quickly go through the purposes of using Mastermind. Number one is, of course, to understand your market, your customers, your prospects, and the activity that you're doing in the organization. All of those are very important things by understanding the information you're collecting about them in GoldMine. And that information is accumulating every day. It is probably also in some ways getting worse in certain ways each day, and you want to manage both ends of that. Know what's there, understand what's there, and also be able to address what you find as far as gaps. Secondly, to be able to control GoldMine. whether you know it or not, GoldMine's behavior on its face is driven by the data that's in it. For example, pending records have codes in them that cause alarms to pop up or that cause events to show up on your calendar. And you can control GoldMine's behavior by controlling this data. For example, by managing the switch across many of the records that causes that annoying alarm screen to pop up that most of you probably just simply dismiss every time it comes up because you've fallen behind on your alarms. Mastermind actually allows you to and this is just one example, manage that aspect of GoldMine so that you actually can have a functioning, useful alarm system in GoldMine that only goes off in the times when it makes sense for you. And essentially, the way we do that is just allow you to see all those alarms in Excel and eliminate the ones that you don't want to have, or turn them off, or temporarily move them someplace else, something like that. So you can apply that same principle to things like emails that are piled up and not being handled, incoming emails, for example, or old pending activities that have built up in your system, or leads that really should be pushed off to the side, or either eliminated from the system or marginalized in some way so they don't get in your way. All of these are management tasks for working with GoldMine that really could make GoldMine more effective for you. So that's a long explanation about controlling GoldMine. Excuse me. And I was talking there about managing data in GoldMine, and this is kind of a little bit when I'm talking about controlling GoldMine, I was talking about managing let's say the bits that control alarms and so on. But there's also just managing overall. What is in GoldMine? What do I want to have here? Where are the important gaps? Do I have and do you have in GoldMine tools that allow you to easily fill in those gaps and manage that data? And my answer to you would be, in all likelihood, probably not, unless you have Mastermind. Another really important aspect of GoldMine that people find comes up a little bit short is sharing information. If you've got everybody in the company that on GoldMine, then within GoldMine there are certainly ways that you can share information. But typically what I've seen, I'm going to say more than typically, I'm going to say just about everywhere, what I have seen is that the way information gets passed around among people who use GoldMine as well as people who don't is in list form, either importing, exporting, passing around, hand tallying spreadsheets and so on, in Excel. Excel is sort of the medium that most people choose to use because it's a quick and easy way to see sort of a pseudo database on a spreadsheet and pass it around to other people. And we've all had that experience of not being able to either get the information that we want into the spreadsheet, or needing somebody to expend a great deal of effort to constantly update a spreadsheet that really just duplicates information that's in GoldMine, or on the other end, not be able to get information that's on the sheet into GoldMine where it should be. And Mastermind actually gives you tools that make it much easier to do that sort of thing. I mentioned about efficient processes before. Updating information, interacting with outside programs like Constant Contact or MailChimp, transferring information to and from other people outside GoldMine. These are all things that you will be able to do with Mastermind. And the next one is really what we sort of based our invitation to you for today's meeting on, and that is fixing what's, quote, wrong with GoldMine. Now, that doesn't mean GoldMine itself is broken. What it does mean is within most organizations, there are people who have complaints about GoldMine. GoldMine doesn't tell me what I need to know to make more sales. It doesn't bring up the information right up at the top where I need it so that I can just pound away and bring in sale after sale. Or our data is not reliable, so our forecast is meaningless, or I can't use it to plan my work properly. Very common complaint about GoldMine. The data is not reliable in part because you just don't have a good way of managing it from on top, and I'm about to show you ways that you will be able to. Users won't enter data that doesn't actually help them on a day-to-day basis. I think we've all experienced that. You've got some users who may be willing to enter data for a while until they discover that doing that work, completing calls in GoldMine, or moving things, removing things from their calendar after they're done with them, or whatever. People are only willing to do that as long as they can see some sort of a benefit for it. Is it going to result in reports that go to management, that help management to understand what's going on? Is it going to be used to help bonus them for work that gets done, or make sure that they get credit for the things that they need to get credit for. If it's just simply a task and that doesn't have any feedback to the users, then very likely you're going to find yourself with reluctant or even hostile kinds of users that prevent your GoldMine actually from being the thing that it's supposed to be. Mastermind has tools that will help you to address that through the reporting, through the management of the data, and so on. Another complaint we very often hear is we're flying blind. You have to have expensive outside consultants come to make reports for you because you may not have somebody on staff who's a full-time report writing expert, and even if you do have that person, maybe they're not always available, or they're not interested in coming over and helping you make reports because they are, their job is something else. And I'm talking about reports, but the same thing applies with doing, let's say, SQL queries or any other information gathering activity in GoldMine.
Yeah. Hey,
finally,
Rob?
the last thing, yes.
Okay. One of the things that I've seen people who are like relatively new adopting GoldMine, or that they've undergone a lot of personnel changes, is that the people are being pretty good about putting stuff in, but then management doesn't do anything with that information that's put in. So when they can see something tangible coming out of it that helps everybody, that's a huge thing, and gives people people a reason to log those phone calls or update those fields.
So true. That creates a culture around GoldMine that where everybody acknowledges what's in GoldMine is important. Executive level is reacting to it, using it for good purposes. Yeah, that's just a huge difference. It makes a huge difference as far as the culture, both of the company as well as of the specific processes. And so the last thing I was going to mention here is marketing processes. Another complaint you hear about GoldMine is that marketing processes aren't all that clear, or they're cumbersome because you can't really interact with the GoldMine data very well. That's the last one I wanted to throw here. And ultimately, really what we're talking about here is improving sales and marketing results, because GoldMine, for the most part, is focused on sales and marketing. So how can we improve sales and marketing, measure the result, do more of what works, do less of what doesn't, and do all that on the basis of knowing exactly what's happening in the company. And so with that, I'm going to switch over and actually show you a little bit of Mastermind here. The moment you've been waiting for. Let's go right to GoldMine here. So what you're seeing on your screen here, this is GoldMine Premium Edition, pretty current. So most of you probably are familiar pretty much with the layout of this screen, with a couple of important exceptions. The top 4 quadrants here, we've more or less left them the way your GoldMine by default probably was. Over here to the right, I've added some important fields here, and I'm going to get into Mastermind and talk about how to use this. But this really addresses that first thing that I was talking about, where people complain about GoldMine. GoldMine doesn't tell me what I need to know to make more sales. I don't have that information at my fingertips when I need it. If I want to know what's happened with them in the past, I have to go over here to history and read through, well, if there is any history, I have to go through and read through 5 years or 10 years of information that's happened, of what's happened with them in the past. Some of these notes were taken by people who are not me, so they didn't really know, put a good note into the reference field, and so on. So that information, while it is useful to have there, and you probably, as a sales rep, if you are a sales rep or if you manage salespeople, you probably know that people often will spend a lot of time kind of going through there, or at least they will for a while before they kind of give up on it, looking for what's the relevant nugget that's going to help me to sell to Brian Carlisle when I call him up, or when I encounter him at a trade show. Well, one of the things that I very strongly recommend with GoldMine is add some fields at the top that provide that kind of information. Now, a lot of you might be thinking as you're looking at this, well, yeah, that's fine, the marketing intelligence information, that doesn't change much over time. Account potential and the number of employees the customer has, or the prospect has, maybe the competitor who's working with them currently. That kind of information may not change over time. That might be something that sales reps or other sources of information can gather over time so that you get good information there. And if that's there, that's going to be very helpful. What about these other things? What about things like where are they what stage in our sales process? Maybe even more importantly, what have they bought from us so far this year? What did they buy from us last year? How can we know that that information is correct? Because for sure, you're not going to have somebody go one by one through your GoldMine database and update that number every time they buy something. I'll come back with an answer on that here in a moment. Likewise, key dates, milestones. When was the last time this person was actually spoken to? Not necessarily when's the last time you rang their phone, which you can get right out of history, with the topmost call, but when was the last time you actually had a conversation with them? Might have been face-to-face, might have been something deeper. And so how can you keep that date right up front together with other relevant information? Maybe they've demoed our software, maybe there's our product, maybe there's some other key information. This is really important information to have, but it's not easy to manage it. You can't just simply say to your sales reps, yeah, fill in those numbers and let me know how that goes. However, if you've got tools such as Mastermind, and I'll show you here in just a second, you not only can report on that information, I'll bring up a report here in a moment of last completed contact, and just giving you a little preview of where we're going with it. Not only can you see that in a report based on selective information from history, but you would also be able to do things like update the most recent date of those contacts right into this last contact field for the entire database all at once. And do that, someone could do that periodically. Usually if you're doing that once a week or once a month, that's plenty. It's an awful large improvement over what currently happens, which is nothing. Now you're probably also, just by the way, in case you're thinking, oh, there's a field in GoldMine that's built in called last contact. Well, that's the last time somebody sent them an email or made a phone call that wasn't a failure, or had an appointment that wasn't unsuccessful, let's say, marked unsuccessful. But that's only going to get updated if you do things a very certain way under history that almost nobody in GoldMine does, which is record every activity that happens, and use the unsuccessful and successful field for those things. What I'm going to suggest is, and this is maybe a good example of how Mastermind can really enhance what's built into GoldMine. What's better is you set your own rules for what you want people to do when they are doing their sales activity. For example, just in this demo database here, one of the things we've got here is we've got our users putting in a code about what did they call about, as well as another code that gives a result. Did I talk to them, which would be COM, I communicated with them, or I completed my reason for contacting them, or did I leave a message? Well, if they left a message, then you don't want to increment this number up here, but if they talk to somebody, you probably do. That's just an example, a small example of ways in which this GoldMine database can be caused to drive your sales effort much more effectively by having better information in front of the user. So they can always do things like have reports or have filters or other supporting GoldMine activities that help them to drive up the most important next call for them to the top of the list, so they can actually do that work without having to hunt around or do a lot of extra database work. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about GoldMine. Let's have a look at Mastermind. I'm going to actually pop open a report here. Now, Mastermind Reports are Excel workbooks. So when I click this button, what's really going to happen is an Excel workbook is going to open, and it's simultaneously going to refresh with current data from GoldMine. So I'm not actually needing to go through a report design or a report layout kind of process to get my reports. In most cases, I've already done that layout. It's very easy to do the layout, as I'll illustrate here. But once it's there, really your users only need to pop it open, and it's refreshed from GoldMine, and it's ready to go when it comes up. Now, it's still very interactive. There's a lot more to do here than just simply read the numbers. But just want you to know that as end users, when they need information of whatever type you set them up to get, it's really just like I just did, a click on the GoldMine taskbar, and up comes a working report, an accurate to-the-moment report for that matter. Now, we're in Excel. What you see here is a workbook with 3 tabs in it. There are actually 3 different views of our last completed appointment or call, and this is just a template in Mastermind. Creating this report originally took maybe 10 minutes, and I'm going to go back and actually show you how I created it and laid out these different versions of it. Excuse me. But basically, what we're seeing here is, in this case, an overview, sort of a tally overview of all the calls by month. Now, this is a demo database, so you're not going to see a whole lot of high numbers in here. But these are calls to customer-type records. Now, note that in GoldMine we have customers, employees, past clients, suspects, prospects, some misspelled versions of customer, and so on. And I'll get to that here in a moment. So I'm able to, within my report, dynamically to just filter this to show me what I need to see. At the moment, this is customers. Maybe what we really want to see, though, is all the different flavors of customer, including the typo versions of customer, or in this case, some people put in the word client, which just by the fact that that information is in GoldMine, without any extra report writing on my part, any effort on my part, Mastermind is smart enough to find all the variations that are actually in your data, not just the ones that are in your lookups, present those to you and allow you to choose those so that what shows up in your report is really specifically what you're after. And what we're seeing here is this is a little summary from the years 2014 and 15 of completed calls and appointments to customers and various sort of flavors of customer. You'll see these numbers go up a lot if I add in, let's say, the prospects and suspects. So this is all the calls by these different users. A nice view because they're side by side. I can see what's there. I can see which records have never had a contact from us. And by the way, when I say contact, this can be very specifically written to your own criteria for what you mean by a contact. If all they did was ring their phone, that's one thing. But if we want to have this filter by, it needs to have certain result codes to indicate that a contact was had. That's very easy to build right into the report. So in this case, we've got leads, 101 of them, that have never been contacted, and the others, which is about 210 or so, divided across the sales reps this way, break out in terms of the last time they were contacted going back this way. So, and that's a complete overview of my database. I have 311 account records in my database, and I know exactly where they all are in a nice, easy, one glance view of how they fall. Now, the fact that some of these were called in January of last year and others in December, I'm not all that interested. So one of the things that I can do, again, dynamically right within my report is roll up 2014 all into one item. That allows me to, again, simplify my view of the data so that I can take appropriate action as I look at this. So what kinds of appropriate action might there be? Well, one thing might be, let's find out who are these 101 that have never been contacted. That could be pretty important. And after all, they are listed in our database as prospects or customers. One way to do that is to just simply double-click on the 101. All Mastermind reports automatically drill through to show you additional information that's underneath that number. Now, in this case, we're not seeing actual history item information. It's blank for all those because there is no history item for all these records. And these are all ones that somebody is going to need to follow up on or do something about. Who might that someone be? Well, we included the sales rep field. I just happened to include it when I created this report. So one thing I might do is, let's say, sort these by sales rep, who's responsible for them, and then we might just take a closer look at some of these. So 3 of them here belong to Jane O'Hare. Now the name of the company is over on the left-hand side, so I'm going to just go over to it and look at it. So we've got Steve Cartman here at Kennedy Solutions. Now, looking at the report here, I didn't include enough information to tell me very much more about it, although I certainly could have included them in the report. But I do also have access right back to the GoldMine record. So if I just double-click here on Steve Cartman, it pops right to the GoldMine record, and I've got this interactive back and forth between my Excel reports and my GoldMine. So I'm going to leave GoldMine maximized in the screen here. With Excel here, I'm actually going to unmaximize it a little bit just so you can see that the lists that you create and work with here in Excel and Mastermind remain tied back to GoldMine. So I could actually go through a list here. Here's Lori Leeds, double-click on it, you see it goes right to her record in GoldMine, and the next one and so forth. So you can really work through your GoldMine data very efficiently. Even though you're outside of GoldMine technically, you're really in contact with GoldMine and you're working with it more closely. Now there's a number of interactions back with GoldMine that are really important in these tools, in these Mastermind tools. I'll go through a couple of these right now, and then we'll come back to talking about that actually will lead us back to talking about maintaining those important fields that I mentioned at the top of the screen here. So in this case, last completed appointment or call, we're looking at a list here of let's see, these were accounts that had never been contacted that belonged to certain sales reps. Well, maybe what I want to do is actually use a tool here in MasterMine. Actually, I'm going to sort these columns and take the sales rep and move it farther over to the top here so that I know who I'm working with. And all right, so looking at this, I may say, well, look, Tina L, she's not a sales rep with us anymore, and yet we've got these leads that are assigned to her. Well, I could do a couple of things with this. One thing is I could go and build a GoldMine group from those. Very quick and easy to do that. There are 8 of them. Call this reassign, and essentially with that, build a GoldMine group whose name is reassign, and you can see it happens very quickly. Could be 8, could be 8,000, could be 80,000 records that I just built a group in GoldMine to, and then use my regular GoldMine tools if I want to a limited extent to do something like assign a new sales rep to that account. And there I would have taken care of, essentially taken some leads that otherwise had fallen through the cracks and we're not going to get followed up on, and put them right back into our live system so that they get followed up on. Now that's building a group on the GoldMine side, and by the way, that group might be used to reassign a value in the field, might be used to send an email out of GoldMine. There are a number of very useful ways that these Mastermind tools interact with your GoldMine built-in tools to be able to accomplish things. Another way to deal with that, though, might be to directly update the GoldMine record from here. So here's a tool, again, built into Excel by MasterMine, that would allow you to update the Contact One table, the sales rep field in that table, based upon the value that we find here. And so I'm actually going to go and, well, I didn't actually change to a new sales rep yet. Let's go to our data here and change this. This is going to become Rob M. So I'm going to reassign these leads, and you can see it's very easy within Excel, of course, to do this. And think about this now. What we're doing is data management in a way that previously would have required you to do things like be able to write SQL queries or have somebody who could go right into the GoldMine database and do this work for you. Now, with this tool, which you can selectively deploy, this doesn't have to be all your Mastermind users who have this, but you can very selectively put this very powerful tool in front of people that allows them to do, for example, I just took 8 records. I'm going to change them all to be Rob M, or maybe I'll even do something more fancy. I'll say I'm going to round robin these. I'm going to do the first 3 with different names, and then I'm going to actually copy this down in Excel so that I round robin them to a set of different users. And now when I go to Updater and say let's just say okay, and we're going to update that field on the GoldMine side very quickly. We didn't have a match field on that one. Oh, here, let's do this. No. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Let's choose the account number field. Okay, so with that, I have updated GoldMine data. I actually just did update those 8 records on the GoldMine side from an original value of Tina L to saying Rob M. So if I go to, let's say I'll double click here on DLP systems, because again the double click here works just the same, pop right to that record, and you can see the sales rep now says Rob M where it used to say Tina L. Now data management, I'm just going to mention one other thing about this tool for doing the data management. Data management, of course, is a somewhat dangerous thing when you're changing thousands of records all at once. It's not a capability you necessarily want in the hands of everybody, but you definitely want it in the hands of somebody. Somebody needs to be able to actively hands-on manage your GoldMine database. Ideally, somebody internally. If you need to have your GoldMine dealer or have us do it for you, we can do it just as well, and we can do it an awfully lot more efficiently with these tools than if you don't provide them. I'm just mentioning about the danger because as long as you have the log sheet right here in Excel, you can keep this log sheet, which would be just a record of things that you've done, save the workbook, that work, it'll just be part of this workbook from then on. Or if you come back later on and you say, you know what, I didn't really want to reassign those, I want those to go back to Tina L, got an undo button right here. Oh, did do that again, there we go. I had a cell
and that's certainly something you don't see in GoldMine.
Yeah, or in SQL, or really anywhere.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the record DLP system is back to saying Tina L. It happens, pretty much in a flash. If we were doing tens of thousands of records, it might have taken a few minutes for it to run through them all. But really, it's just so much more efficient and effective than just about anything you could imagine. Okay, so a couple of things then. So that's actually quite a lot there about active hands-on data management. And you can imagine for yourself how these tools could be used to clean up data that really needs to be organized better inside of your GoldMine. That alone, probably for those of you who have been running GoldMine for years and haven't had Mastermind, just getting your GoldMine data straightened out would be a huge, powerful asset to your company that probably far outweighs the cost of Mastermind for you. So just on that, purely on that level, it's well worth it. But going back to that, our original goal here of talking about fixing what's wrong with GoldMine, I mentioned about these fields at the top here, being able to get GoldMine to show you the relevant information. So taking as an example this last contact field, remember I was saying that we could choose whatever criteria we want down here in the report to indicate what we mean by an actual last contact as opposed to just, oh, I've got a completed activity in history or something. So with those criteria, we might set those criteria here so that the appropriate information shows up in the report. Then all we need to do is really use that same updater function that I just used to change a sales rep field. We can instead use it to take the date of the most recent contact and pop that date into the last contact field. I'll just show you the process here by, I'll take, well, these ones were not contacted, so let's turn those off from our list. Again, in your reports, you really have a great deal of control over what's showing at any given minute, which is really important. So a lot of them have not been contacted. These other ones were last contacted sometime more recently. So double click on the 210 to show you all of them. This is the actual date of their last time. Now, in this case, each one of these records only appears here one time. So each account record is only here once with the date of their most recent contact. So I could just simply take that column, say I'm going to push that on date field for each one of these records right into that last contact field. And the process is as simple as this. Go to the, now this is in this case it's a user-defined field that we're connecting up with. And we're going to update the last contact date field, which is actually this one. And like that, 210 records are going to get updated on the GoldMine site. And you can see that that's a process that a secretary would be able to do, or somebody, a support person would be able to do very quickly every week. Or every day if you wanted to. It only took about 20 seconds to get it done. And so if I go to, Talkers Inc., for example, you can see that now it's populated with the last contact date. Okay, so I just wanted to give that as one single example among many possible ones, if you apply a little bit of creativity to this, of how you can take information that's in GoldMine, and by the way, information that's not in GoldMine as well, I'll get back to that in here in a moment, and populate information that's useful at the top of your GoldMine screen. Okay, in fact, since I've just teased it here, let me mention. So with Mastermind, you can do reporting out of GoldMine. You can also do reporting across GoldMine and other applications. So if you've got an ERP system or an accounting system or any other, or let's say a quoting system, any other application where we can match up account records through some logical fashion, you would be able to actually have your reports, your Mastermind reports, again, pop up quickly, automatically repopulate right into Excel when you open them up with current data in the moment, and that information does not need to only come from GoldMine. That can come from GoldMine and other sources. Very quick and easy to do. And then having done that, because of that updater capability, you could even take that, let's say that past sales activity, or past sales dollars, and use it to update what's our year-to-date sales for them, what did we sell to them last year, any other information that's available. Really powerful stuff for helping sales reps have the information at their fingertips when they need it. Not just sales reps, customer service reps as well. Okay.
Hey, Rob?
Go.
Can I grab the reins and drive you off in a different direction for a bit?
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Because I know that some of the people on this webinar have never seen Mastermind before. What are some things that you could do for? Because I know that one of the problems that we run into all the time are people who have great information in their gold mine, and these are people that they were interested in buying, but the follow-up never happened. Is there an easy way that you could make a report that shows, maybe by sales rep, who are folks that haven't been followed up on, and assuming that an outbound email, maybe an outbound email does not count as a follow-up because you don't know if the person responded or is even there.
Right. So I'll go into that in a little bit of, I'll take that in a little bit of depth here. So one way, of course, is like with this report that I was already showing you, is here's people who have never been contacted or never been contacted according to certain criteria. And in effect, that is your list, and you can do your calling from that. I'll take this opportunity actually to show you the means by which Mastermind reports get created. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm actually going to run our create dialog, and talk a little bit about how easy it is, given a question like that, to actually generate a new original Mastermind report, which you can share around among users, either from scratch, or when I say from scratch, I mean by making a few selections about what area you're pulling data from and hitting the finish button, or by using templates. And your question stack, I think, really goes very much toward the templates that are built into Mastermind. So now there's a long list of reports here. If I go down to, let's see, last call and appointment, you can see they're alphabetical here. They're actually sorted by toolkits or by meaning. So for example, I might say, let's just look at the history related reports. When I click that, it actually gives us fewer reports here in the list to choose from. But last call, or where did it go? Last completed appointment or call was actually the basis for that last report we were looking at. But there are actually, if you think about it, a lot of logical variations that you might want to do for any given report. That's why having this create dialog available to you is so important. You could have a few reports that you set up and just reuse and reuse and reuse all the time, and that might be, for some users, all they ever do with Mastermind. But somebody within the organization should be able to call up and create a useful report that answers a specific question, like Stek, you just mentioned. Let's say we want to find all of the accounts that that had a certain thing happen in the past. Let's say it's something in their history reference that indicates, they attended a trade show, we met them at a trade show or whatever, but then haven't had anything happen since then. So a report like that might be done with this report template here that's built in. This particular one has some logic built into it. I'm not going to run through the whole thing, but let's say we're looking for, just because I've got it here on the screen here, we're looking for all the history that's happened in our prospect records where they had a scheduled demo. They had a demo scheduled in the past. So we want to find all the history basically that has happened since a schedule demo reference in history. Now that happens to be the meaning of that particular template we chose. We could do all the ones based on one of these milestone dates that I've got up here at the top, where they were demoed but never followed up on, or they were demoed and the follow-up faltered, or it wound up being assigned to a sales rep who's no longer with us. And you can think of a million possible criteria for leads getting lost or just sort of disappearing into your database that you paid good money to get, that you paid people to follow up on, and then nothing happened with them. And if you can do that and wring additional sales out of your existing GoldMine database, what's the value of that to you to be able to do that kind of a thing? So I'm just taking that as one example. I'm actually going to cancel this one. We could, and by the way, we could also say which types of activity are we specifically interested in. So we don't pull all history, like every email that was ever sent to them, but maybe only sales that happened since a certain event, or only calls that happened since then, so on. Excuse me. So that's one actually good example of how you can take these take the templates that are built into Mastermind and really have them dig in a profound way into your GoldMine database for you and dredge up information that's important to actually being able to close some sales in the present tense. What I want to do here is show you the actual process of creating a new report, because I think it's important for you to know that even though what I showed you here was a report that had been created in the past, making reports out of Mastermind is very easy. There's the templates themselves, as I just went through, and the templates are pre-laid out to perform different tasks. Some of them have to do with database management tasks. Some of them, database management things being like dealing with alarms in GoldMine, or dealing with alerts, or lookups, or any of the things that you normally need to go through one by one and manage in the GoldMine space within the GoldMine application, and would never get to because you just can't deal with hundreds or thousands of things that way. With Mastermind, you can suddenly be able to do that stuff in a snap and do it very efficiently and know exactly what you're doing, because it's all visual and right there in Excel happening in front of you. It's really quite a remarkable experience to suddenly have that kind of control over your GoldMine. Those are examples of database management kinds of reports, but there are also sales management kinds of reports, the sort of like the ones that I was just talking about, where you find leads that haven't been followed up on, and so on. Anything really to do that's information that's in GoldMine can effectively be reported on. As Steck mentioned, we've been friends since the Stone Age, so that means we've been in the GoldMine market here since, as she said, back in the 90s. Just about anything that you can imagine that people have wanted to do with GoldMine data, we've been asked about it, and if it made sense to generalize it, it's been built into the product here. So there's a lot of things that will anticipate your needs, and really all you need to do is find the appropriate template to create a report for you that's meaningful in the context that you need it. Now that said, when you get Mastermind, you do get some training on how to use it. There's also online support to help you create reports in the moment when you need them. So we really give you full support all along the line. But I wanted to get to my demonstration here of a report. So let's do it. I'm going to create a report here. Let's do a report of pending and history items. And let's see. Let's just take here, I'm going to do this one as an example. Pending and history calendar. We often get asked for things like, can you do a report that'll show me completed sales as well as sales that have not been, completed sales as well as forecasted ones. So actually I'm going to choose this one. So forecast and completed sales in one report that gives me, in a sense, a cash flow for the year. Let's say it's October, which it is. We want to see an overview of 2015 that includes both what was closed in 2015 as well as what we still expect to bring in for the rest of 2015, so we can make some sort of an end-of-year projection. There's a good example of what you might want to do. So to do that, we'll create a report here. I'm going to say finished. I'm going to pull all the data that's in here rather than specify only 2015. Part of the reason I want to do that is I want to illustrate for you that that even using a template as I'm doing here, it doesn't create just one single report that can't be changed from how it is. It actually, as you can see, it's sort of pulling all this together. What it creates by default is a report with fields in certain locations, but where you have complete control over what else you want to show. So for example, what we're seeing here is for 2015, so for the current year, and by the way, other years are present here, we just happen to default to the current year. We show what do we still have pending, what have we already completed, and what did we determine was an unsuccessful sale or a lost sale and then a total here. Now we may choose not to show the unsuccessful ones. We don't care about those in a cash flow kind of view, so I'll turn off the unsuccessful ones. And you have this kind of easy control in the report to include other fields or remove them to make this a simpler report or a more complicated one. So this is by product. The product field is just it's the product field in each pending or completed sale in GoldMine. Our database has actually three different kinds of sales. We've got gadgets in various packages, widgets in various packages, and these ones that are labeled document here, these are actually QuoteWorks kinds of documents. And the tools that are just built right into Mastermind allow you to do lots of useful things here, like for example group these. So these are ones that were done by the quote system, which actually is QuoteWorks, and what I'm going to do is roll those all up into one row, and then likewise I'm going to take all these ones that are gadgets and I'll put those in one group. And the reason for doing this is sometimes we want the full detail of every individual product that we sell. Sometimes we want to be able, within a report, flexibly, nimbly, to present this in a simpler view that gives us a summary of what's happened in our database. So that's what I just created here. 2015. Here is our three different categories of sales, and you just saw I did it as I was talking here. It's pretty easy to do. Our three different categories of sales. Now we could roll down the individual products for any individual one. So if we wanted to see, the gadgets rolled down, we could do that, and still see right in context there what the actual sales are, dividing pending from the successful ones. And there it is, without too much complication, our cash flow for the rest of the year. Now we can go and do variations on this report, and this is the important thing about Mastermind. Any report that you create is really a template that you can just continue to clone off of and do different things with. So for example, if what I was interested in is for our head of sales of gadgets, a report that focuses on the gadgets but shows who the actual purchasers were, it's almost no work at all to clone this worksheet, which all I did was click a button and clone the worksheet, or do a save as here to make a special report, special workbook just for the gadget sales manager. Move this up to the top and choose gadgets as our selection here. So we're only looking at the gadgets for 2015, and rather than look at the individual products that were sold, let's look at it by who the companies are that bought from us. And what other information do we want to know about them? What campaign did we get the lead from, or you name it. If it's a field in GoldMine, it can be a field right here, easily dragged and dropped into the report. Why don't I show actually a couple of other things? Since we're showing also pending sales here, we could show, well, what's the probability, and maybe say, well, let's only include them if the probability is above a certain level, only 25% or higher, for example. Very easily on the fly change my criteria, and the report itself becomes new. We might also, just for better organization's sake, do these companies alphabetically, but show the pending ones by their probability. Of course, the successful ones are all 100%. So now, and I just wanted to show that as one simple way to take existing GoldMine data, and I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how simple or how complex your use of GoldMine is. This will be able to take that data and bring it up for you in a way that is meaningful, and that leads you hopefully to your next steps in making it even more meaningful by making good decisions about what information you save in GoldMine, where you're going to put it, and so on. It's a virtuous circle essentially to be able to do reporting on data, and then from those reports figure out, well, if I had a little bit better data, what could I know about how to handle my market better, about how to get more sales, about how to treat our customers better. If I had that information, how would that work for me? Those clues will be found in your reports, which you can then use as an active mechanism to manage the GoldMine data, and then turn around and make reports on that improved data.
Yeah. Hey, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a two-part question for you here, because you're grabbing this information and you're manipulating it using Excel. Okay, mm-hmm. I guess first question is, if you wanted to make a report for let's say that you're the GoldMine and Mastermind administrator, and you wanted to make a report to share, one of the shared reports with a one of the salespeople, you can make it so they only see their stuff, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Second part.
Okay.
Second part, before you run off with that one. Could somebody grab this report and run off with all of our stuff? Because if I'm doing very sensitive things in my GoldMine with that maybe we're storing confidential data in our GoldMine, we sure don't want anyone running off with that with the customer data.
Right. Right. Okay. So your data is as secure as your system is, and so you need to pay attention to security if that's a concern for you. But as far as Mastermind is concerned, one of the things that Mastermind does is, by default, it does not save the workbook with the data. In other words, it normally would look like this: save the workbook without data and refresh on open. And the result of that is, when the workbook opens up, it is automatically populated with GoldMine data, but GoldMine has to be present to actually see the information in here. If someone were to take this workbook and run off someplace and try to open it up in Excel, the first thing it would do is try to refresh data, not find GoldMine, and wind up basically with an empty table here. Now there's some other, so there actually are some.
So it's kind of like you have a stencil, but you don't have any of the underlying paint. Yeah.
Right. The paint has to be refreshed every time you open it up. Now that's the default security settings in here, and you can lock this down even farther. There's actually a good deal more you can do here to really lock this down to where users literally can only open it up and look at it if you want to. Take away the drill down part, take away the data refresh, all that kind of stuff. If you do settings like that, you're going to want to put a password on here, which prevents them from updating any of this, essentially locking the security settings away from them, and basically that starts you off with Excel workbooks that essentially can't be used as a stealing device. Now that said, GoldMine, of course, also has built into it ways to export information into Excel. So if that's a concern for you, you're going to want to pay attention to the security inside of GoldMine and deal with that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Completely apart from Mastermind.
Right.
Did I answer both questions?
Yeah.
I think so.
Because I know that we have people in a crazy wide assortment of industries here, and all of them are concerned about somebody walking off with their stuff or seeing shouldn't see.
Right, right. And we usually, what will usually happen with us is we'll wind up working together to do some initial reports so everybody feels comfortable with their own process and their own level of security, and then they kind of take it from there usually after that. I did want to illustrate one other thing here, which is graphics. People often want to know, okay, that's a fine table, but just looking at the numbers here, I don't really have a sense of are these numbers going down or going up for widgets and for gadgets and so on. These have actually very nice tools for doing things like taking that table and making a chart out of it. And you can see a couple of clicks and I'm there. This information, quote system, gadgets, widgets, this is exactly that same information that's right there. I just created this graph from that information just by choosing what type I wanted. And Excel has very nice formatting tools that make this all make you able to do really kind of very nice stuff with your graphics if you want to. And this doesn't need to go away, by the way, when you're done with it. This can be saved with the workbook so that when this workbook opens up next time, it's already got a graph and a table that goes with it, formatted just the way you like it. So we've had people essentially use this as a way to quickly build dashboards. It's an awfully lot easier way to build a dashboard than to try to program dashboards built into GoldMine. You just saw me do in a few seconds a thing that at the actual GoldMine level would take you, after you'd read all the manuals and everything, would take you quite a while to do. So that's another sort of common thing, is that people will actually make Excel workbooks that are themselves dashboards, meaning several different tabs, maybe that have graphical presentations of the information that's in GoldMine, that they literally just open up in the morning, and that's their dashboard that they ride throughout the day, and when they're done, close it up, open it up the next day, and you're still ready to go. So we're getting really close to the end of the allotted time for this. I want to thank everybody for the time that you spent with us. I do want to do a quick wrap up here. So let me bring us back here quickly to our PowerPoint here, and I will still take questions here at the end. But I want to just sort of summarize what you're going to be able to do when you have Mastermind. The key things here are, how do you turn what is, where GoldMine is something that's really good at accumulating information, how do you turn that accumulated information and that process that you use with it on a day-to-day basis into money? How do you turn that into the goal, the outcomes that you're really shooting for with the company? And so what Mastermind basically adds here is the ability to do really well-coordinated business activity. I don't think I need to dig into that too deeply with you. Plus, essentially, what I call a monitored, known, no BS sales activity kind of management, so that you really know what are we actually accomplishing here and what are we not, rather than rely upon anecdotes and people just telling you, oh yeah, I'm doing just fine to, excuse me, look at my numbers at the end of the month. I'm back, but maybe not able to talk yet.
Yikes. Anyway, so you can see how the Mastermind can help you, ride herd over your GoldMine. And one of the things from a management standpoint that can not only tell you what's going on, but you can also arrange it to do exception reports. So you can find those things that is where you're saying, okay, what's missing? If I have someone who's a prospect, what are the things that I expect to see filled in for a prospect that aren't filled in? Or what's the things I expect to see in history or pending that aren't there? So you can make those things happen. Maybe it's a training opportunity for your fellow GoldMine people to help them feed the GoldMine better. And the nice thing is that with the GoldMine you can have it provide the rewards. Have it be able to monitor when someone's doing stuff right, and even if they aren't to the point of making those sales yet because they're new, if they're doing things correctly, this is a way that you can help monitor to make sure it's being done right and give them a pat on the back or a pizza or something.
Right. I always emphasize that it's not just about finding what's being done wrong, but really taking note of what's being done right and making sure that the proper feedback goes out. The rest of this, hopefully I'm going to last through the rest of this. The smooth marketing workflow, the ability to, I didn't go into it too much, but to move information in and out of GoldMine to your Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever outside marketing services you use, get the feedback from that back into GoldMine, which most of you probably are not actually accomplishing right now, is a huge step up for marketing capability. And the other things really are more generic. It's about getting more done in less time because there's an awful lot that you can accomplish across thousands of records or hundreds of them at a time. You get true information as opposed to anecdotes and guesses and so on as you're trying to do your planning for next year or as you're really trying to manage people on a day-to-day basis. If it's not in GoldMine, it didn't happen. If I don't find it in my Mastermind reports, it didn't happen. It can be that simple. And basically with that confidence, then you can make better decisions with less doubt. And in the end, essentially, we're talking about, with GoldMine, better results that you can prove. So the last thing here is, how do you get Mastermind? In case you're wondering, the reporting only package of Mastermind starts at $9.95. Reporting and data management starts at $17.95. That's to say with that component that allows you to write back to GoldMine. As I mentioned before, you may not wind up having that data management capability in the hands of very many users, but it's useful to have it in a few. Practically speaking, if you want to get a better look at Mastermind, that's not just me rushing quickly through this stuff. If you want to see it working with your own database, or if you want to see it working in a specific way that you dictate, we are very happy to facilitate that for you online through GoToMeeting. Call Publisher Parish, call STEC, or call us. Our toll-free number is there on the bottom of the screen, and we'll be very happy to set up a one-on-one with you and really walk you through, I'll put it this way, not just walk you through Mastermind functionality, actually walk you through your own GoldMine database in a way that you've never thought possible before. And essentially what's available to you is a demo, as I just mentioned. You even can try it before you buy it. In other words, it can be installed on your system to use for a few days with your own GoldMine before you need to make any decision about what you're going to buy. So with that, and with my last gasp of breath, I say thank you very much, Stack, for the opportunity to do this. And thank you all very much for the time, taking the time to look at Mastermind today.
All righty. So for those of you who had get interrupted by something, or you have a friend who wants to see this again, or maybe you want to see this again, Carnegie will be sending out within 24 hours a recording so you can see all this beautiful Mastermind stuff, and you can share with your friends. All righty. So you know where to find us if you need us. Mastermind's numbers there are. Mastermind's toll-free number is up there, and the information is also in your invitation. Publisher parish, of course, is 630 Mars Bar. So talk with you all soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Stack.